In a world that craves certainty and control, we often find ourselves chasing answers to questions that may never have a definitive response. The mysteries of existence, like the elusive nature of time, the unpredictability of human experience, or the strange behavior of particles too small to see, have always beckoned to us. What if the key to understanding life isn't in the answers we seek, but in the uncertainty we resist? In a quiet town, nestled at the edge of a vast forest, lived an elderly philosopher named Elias. His cabin, surrounded by towering oaks in the murmur of the nearby river, seemed out of place in a world driven by technology and speed. But Elias was not interested in the digital pulse of modern life. He spent his days contemplating the mysteries of the universe, and for years his mind had been captivated by a curious idea: the uncertainty of life, mirrored in the strange and unpredictable world of quantum mechanics. One autumn evening, as the last golden rays of the sun slipped through the trees, Elias sat on his porch, staring into the endless horizon. His thoughts meandered between the ancient teachings of Stoic philosophers and the revolutionary principles of modern science. He had spent the day reading a paper on quantum physics, a field he had come to understand not in its equations or particles, but in the deeper philosophical implications it held for existence itself. A young woman named Clara, a former student who had often visited him during her college days, knocked softly on the door. She had been troubled lately, weighed down by the overwhelming unpredictability of her life. Uncertainty seemed to define her every choice, every step. Her career path was unclear, her relationships were strained, and the world, with all its noise and distractions, felt more like a chaotic blur than something with meaning. "Come in, Clara," Elias greeted her warmly, sensing the storm of thoughts that clouded her mind. Clara entered and sank into the armchair by the fireplace. She had come for advice, but she didn't know where to start. "I don't know where I'm going, Elias. I try to plan, I try to control, but life keeps throwing curveballs. I'm frustrated. Nothing feels certain anymore." Elias smiled gently, his face lined with the wisdom of years lived in contemplation. He leaned forward, his voice calm, but carrying the weight of a truth he had come to understand over the years. "Let me tell you a story," he said. "Not about life, but about a tiny world far smaller than we can even see. A world governed by strange rules, where nothing behaves the way we expect it to. It's called quantum mechanics." Clara listened intently as Elias began to speak of the quantum realm, where particles behave both as waves and particles, where their positions and velocities were not fixed but probabilistic. He told her about the famous double-slit experiment, where particles could be in multiple places at once, only to decide where they were when observed. In that tiny world, certainty was an illusion, and uncertainty was the only reality. The quantum world, Elias explained, teaches us that at the most fundamental level, life is inherently unpredictable. Particles, like people, don't follow a linear path. They exist in a haze of possibilities until a moment of observation forces them into a single reality. But this moment of clarity is fleeting, and then they slip back into uncertainty. Clara furrowed her brow. "So you're saying that everything in life is just random? That nothing really matters?" "No, Clara," Elias replied, his voice filled with a quiet intensity. "What quantum mechanics reveals is that uncertainty is not the absence of order, but rather a fundamental part of the order itself. It's not randomness, it's complexity. It's the freedom to exist in multiple possibilities at once. Life, too, is not a rigid path. It's a dance between potential and reality." Elias paused, letting the weight of his words settle in the air. In today's world, we are often taught that we must have control, that we must predict and plan every step. But the quantum world shows us that control is an illusion. What we must learn is to live with the uncertainty, to embrace the unknown. Life is not about knowing exactly where we will be tomorrow. It's about being open to the infinite possibilities of today. Clara was silent for a moment, reflecting on Elias's words. The weight of her own struggles, the uncertainty of her career, the unpredictability of relationships. It all felt so much more manageable now somehow. Not because the uncertainty disappeared, but because she had come to understand it differently. But how do we live with this uncertainty? She asked, her voice softer now, as if the question had been with her all along. Elias leaned back in his chair, eyes soft with wisdom. We do so by accepting that life, much like the quantum realm, is a series of probabilities, not certainties. We act not out of fear of the unknown, but out of trust in the process of life itself. The key is not to predict or control, but to engage fully with the present moment. To make decisions not with the expectation of an ideal outcome, but with the courage to face whatever outcome arises, knowing that each possibility is part of a larger dance of existence. Clara smiled, feeling a shift within her, as if a burden had been lifted. The path ahead was still unclear, but the weight of needing to control it had lightened. She could now see the unpredictability of life not as a threat, but as a space of possibility. Just like the quantum particles that dance between states, her own life could embrace the uncertainty. As Clara left Elias's cabin that evening, the sky above was painted with the colors of dusk, the air crisp with the promise of change. She felt a new sense of freedom, a liberation from the need to predict and control every aspect of her life. Perhaps the greatest wisdom, she realized, was not in certainty, but in the acceptance of the unpredictable flow of existence. And so, just as the universe danced between possibility and reality, so too did Clara step forward into her own uncertain, yet infinitely promising future. Is it possible that true peace lies not in controlling the chaos of life, but in embracing it as an essential part of our journey? Comment below what you think about this possibility. Thanks for watching. Here at Spectrum Nexus, the strands of philosophy, technology, and science intertwine. By connecting seemingly unrelated concepts, we uncover the hidden patterns shaping our universe. Together, we delve into the logic and intuition behind complex ideas, exploring the vast spectrum of knowledge one insight at a time.